Task-based simulations are one of the most challenging areas CPA exam candidates face when preparing for the CPA exam. A lot of people perform weaker in task-based simulations in comparison to multiple choice questions and struggle with improving their performance in task-based simulations. So, what are task-based simulations? And how can you master these types of questions? This is what I will explain in this video. Hey future CPAs, this is Ala Abudaya. I'm a licensed CPA in the state of Colorado and I help students pass the CPA exam and become CPAs. If this is your first time here and you're interested in becoming CPAs, start by subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell in order not to miss any of my videos. Task-based simulations are designed to test your knowledge at higher level thinking skills. Because task-based simulations form 50% of the CPA exam score in financial accounting and reporting, auditing, and regulation sections of the CPA exam, and 35% of the business environment and concepts section of the exam score, performing well on these questions is a must in order for you to pass the CPA exam. There are pre-test questions which do not count in the exam score. These questions cover from 15 to 20% of the exam questions. So you will receive around 2 task-based simulations that will not count. You don't know which of these questions are the ones that will not count. That's why you must treat all questions as if they are all counting in your score. So don't try to guess the pre-test questions and take care of all of the questions. In today's video, I will give you 9 tips to help you master task-based simulations and beat these types of questions. And I will show you an example of a real task-based simulation at the end of the video. So make sure to keep watching till the end of the video. So what are task-based simulations? Task-based simulations are case studies that allow you to present your knowledge and skills by generating responses to questions rather than simply selecting the correct answer. In other words, task-based simulations are condensed case studies to evaluate your knowledge in specific areas you may face in your real life as CPAs. Your response to these questions may be in the form of entering amounts into spreadsheets, filling accounting or tax forms, selecting the correct answer from a list, or completing and modifying a draft document. You will get a total of 8 task-based simulations in each of the audit, FAR, and RIG sections of the CPA exam, out of which 2 questions will appear in testlet number 3 and 3 questions will appear in each of testlet number 4 and 5. That will include also 1 or 2 research task questions. For the business environment and concept section of the CPA exam, you will get 4 task-based simulations, out of which 2 will appear on testlet number 3 and 2 will appear on testlet number 4. You will also get 3 written communications on testlet number 5 of the BEC exam, which is the only section that has written communications. To learn my best tips and tricks to master the written communication section of the CPA exam, make sure to watch this video, which I explained how to master written communications on the CPA exam. You will not have to complete a research task in the business section of the CPA exam. To learn more details about the 4 parts of the CPA exam and how it's structured, make sure to watch these 2 videos, which I explained about the 4 parts of the exam and the CPA exam structure. So here are my best 9 tips to help you master the task-based simulations and beat these types of questions. Tip number 1. Practice, practice, practice. Practicing task-based simulations will make you familiar with their appearance and functionality. Even though there are significantly more multiple choice questions on the exam, it is important to remember that task-based simulations are worth half of your exam score. Many candidates make this mistake of not focusing on task-based simulations and only focusing on multiple choice questions. It is important to practice all simulation types that you may see on the test. For example, the document type simulations, the journal entry simulations, the research simulations, and others. Go and practice the task-based simulations found in the AICPA sample tests. These sample tests give you real task-based simulations and real exam screens. So it will help you get familiar with how these task-based simulations look like. Go to AICPA.org, search for sample tests, and you will find them. Comment below with a yes if you are going to practice these sample tests. And if you want to get multiple choice questions, tips, and tricks, watch these two videos, which I give you great multiple choice tips. Tip number 2, manage your time properly. Go into the exam with a time management strategy for this 4-hour exam and don't go blindly. Determine exactly how many minutes you will spend on multiple choice questions and simulations. To effectively manage your time on the CPA exam, I recommend you complete the first 2 testlets, which are the multiple choice testlets, within the first hour and a half of the exam, in order to leave enough time for task-based simulations. Allocate the remaining 2.5 hours for task-based simulations and plan to give simple task-based simulations from 15 to 20 minutes, and the more complicated ones, give them from 25 to 30 minutes. Also, allocate 7 to 10 minutes for research tasks and 15 to 20 minutes to written communication questions. Do not spend any longer time on the questions than the allocated time. Spending too much time on a simulation can get you out of time and prevent you from completing the whole exam. That's why you must track your progress to ensure that you will have enough time to complete all task-based simulations. Comment below with a yes if you are going to make a time management strategy for the CPA exam. Tip number 3. Review the task-based simulation question quickly and scan the provided exhibits and information. Do not spend more than 2 minutes scanning the question. The purpose is to get an overview about the complexity of the question and how much time you can allocate for it. Tip number 4. Read the instructions carefully to understand what the question exactly wants. Review each exhibit and document provided so you know what data is available. Analyze the facts provided from the question and try to get out with a solution. The instructions can contain a lot of information, so make a game plan before you start filling anything in. The worst thing that can happen is you complete the entire simulation and then find out that you did not answer the purpose of the question correctly, which happens a lot when we don't read the instructions carefully. So, stay focused and get direct to the point. And most importantly, read the instructions carefully. Tip number 5. Answer all the tasks within the time limit you assigned for each testlet. If you don't have any idea about the answer for a specific question, make an educated guess and move on. Don't leave anything blank. Complete all task-based simulations to the best of your ability. There is no penalty for taking an educated guess. Do not skip any of the questions within a task-based simulation. An educated guess may give you the points you need to reach the passing score, which is 75. To learn my best tips to maximize your CPA exam score and study smarter for the CPA exam, make sure to watch these 2 videos which I gave those great tips. Tip number 6. Utilize the calculator and Excel spreadsheet and use the split screen technology tools, and remember to apply what you have learned. I recommend you do the request for the paper and pencil in advance from Prometric Center and ask for a calculator as well. This will make it easier for you to write any points you need to solve questions and calculate numbers as well. If you understand the concepts, you should do well in simulations. To learn my best tips and tricks to pass the 4 parts of the CPA exam, make sure to watch these 4 videos, which I gave the best tips and tricks to pass the FAR part, the audit part, the RIG part, and the BEC parts of the CPA exam. Tip number 7. Use the flag tool to mark any simulations you are stuck with. This can be done by clicking the bookmark icon beside the task-based simulation number at the top left of the simulation. Use this as a reminder to go back and solve these flagged questions. Remember, you can see the task-based simulations you have within the same testlet, but you can't see what's coming in the next testlet, and once you submit a testlet, you can't go back and open this testlet again. Tip number 8. Spend any extra time you have wisely to maximize your points. Move from a task to a task in an ordered manner. Review and finish each one. Focus specifically on any task-based simulation you flagged. Move on to the next task-based simulation within the testlet or to the next testlet at the allocated time for task-based simulations. Tip number 9. Answer the research simulations last because it is easy to get lost in the search of the authoritative literature. I also don't recommend using the authoritative literature for non-research simulations because it will waste your time. You can put that as a worst case scenario if you really need it. I will be doing a separate video on how to tackle research questions, so stay tuned as well. Most importantly, stay calm, confident, and focused, and keep your eyes on the clock. In my opinion, if you understand the concepts and are doing good in multiple choice questions, you must do good also in task-based simulations because these questions are simply giant multiple choice questions. Task-based simulations are basically training your brain to work on a problem in a different perspective. Okay guys, so here's a sample of task-based simulations from the AICPA.org website from the sample exams. And it exactly shows us how a task-based simulation looks like. The example from the regulation exam. As you all see, we're here in testlet number 3 because here it's highlighted, which means that we are in this testlet. And as you see here, we have the time, the clock, which will be counting down, and you should always keep your eye on the clock during the exam. And you have also a calculator, the Excel sheets. You can use Excels during the exam. It's like the desktop Excel you usually use, so that's a great tool you can use. You have here the authoritative literature as well, and an overview of the questions here. It gives you an overview of the questions that are coming, and here's the help button too. And also, as you all know, maybe most of you know that in the same testlet you can go backwards and forwards, so you can see all the questions in the same testlet. But once you finish the testlet and submit it, you can't go back to it, and you don't know also what's coming in the next testlet. So here in this testlet, you can go backwards and forwards using this arrow or by clicking on the numbers here and see what the next question is. So you can go backwards and forwards. And there's here the flag button also, so you can flag any question that you are not sure about or that you want to go back and review, which will here appear in red, so you can always flag anything you need. And okay, so once you reach the task-based simulations in the exam, what should you do? First of all, I recommend what you do is scan the testlet quickly. So see the questions in this testlet. What are those task-based simulations? Use this arrow here or the numbers and see exactly what the question, what are the questions you have. So here, for example, I have here a question about, it seems here like it wants us to put some numbers. It's a free numeric entry simulation requiring us to put some numbers based on some facts and some requirements in the question. And the next simulation here, it's a research question, okay? So I always recommend you guys, as I said, leave the research till the end. Don't begin with the research question, okay? Because it sometimes will consume more time than expected, and I don't want you guys to get out of time because of this point that you're getting from the research question, okay? I always also recommend you to start with the easy task-based simulation. So once you scan the questions in the testlet, start with the ones that you feel are easier for you and the ones that you feel that the topics you are more familiar with, okay? Because we want to earn as much points as we can. So we want always to start with the things that give us points. Now, after you determine the question you want to begin with, you must read the question carefully, okay? And you can read it more than once in order to get exactly the directions and what they want from us in this question. So here, let's for example do this example and do this question for you and see how we can answer it together. Falcon Inc. is a calendar year-end S corporation owned equally by two shareholders, Jennifer and Marvin. Falcon reports its income and expenses on the accrual method of accounting. Falcon has always been an S corporation and has no debt. Falcon's controller has provided information for the completion of Falcon's Year 4 Form 1120S U.S. income tax return for an S corporation. A copy of Falcon's income statement for the year ended December 31, Year 4, and additional information related to Falcon and its shareholders can be found in the exhibits above. So here we have some exhibits, okay? We have here some exhibits that you can use to solve the question. You should always read all the directions of the questions and read all the exhibits that are existing in the question. Never miss anything, because every single information they are putting in the question, you will need it to solve the question, okay? Every single document or information they're putting, okay? So you have been asked to review the documents provided by Falcon's controller and assist in the preparation of Form 1120S. For each item in column A, calculate the value and enter it in the associated cell in column B. Enter income and gains as positive values and losses and expenses as negative values. If an answer is 0, enter a 0. So they are very clear in their instructions, and once you read the instructions, you can read them again, because maybe the first time they're not clear. But here, what they want exactly from us to do is to review the documents which are provided by Falcon's controller and help them prepare a Form 1120S, which is something we, of course, every one of us studied in the RIG and must study in the RIG exam. So expect always to receive a question about Form 1120S and how to assist in preparing this form and solve multiple choice questions and task-based simulations about this topic. Now, what they want exactly from here is, for each item in column A here, they are giving us some items here, okay? They want us to report the amount associated with this item in column B, and they're giving us specific instructions, and they're telling us that income and gain should be reported as positive values, and losses and expenses should be negative values. So this is very important to read the instructions carefully and know what the question wants from us exactly. For example, if you put a loss or expense, if you forget the minus, okay, if you forget to put it at negative, you're going to lose the whole point for this question, okay? So always read the instructions carefully. Here they're telling us they want income and gain in positive values and losses and expenses in negative, and if an answer is 0, enter 0. So if any answer is 0, you must put 0. Don't leave it blank, because you will lose a point here, okay? So follow the instruction exactly what they want. So what you want to do now is you want to, after you understood what the question wants and everything, you must read the exhibits. So go to the exhibits, open them, and there's a split screen technology there, use them for the simulations. So here, once we open the exhibits, we're going to find that one of the exhibits is an income statement. They give us an income statement, okay? You know, here you have a workspace area that you can use to put the exhibits in, and in this workspace area, you can put the exhibits in order to, use the split screen technology and be able to see the question and at the same time the information provided in the exhibits. So here they're giving us with they provided us with an income. So here they provided us with an income statement, and if you look at the income statement, they give us here an information. They say the macro's depreciation in our assets was $20,000 for year 4. We did not purchase any new assets in year 4. The capital loss is for the sale of land not used in our trade or business to an unrelated third party. The penalties and fines are for the late payment of payroll taxes. So as you all see, guys, they're giving us here very, very important information we need to prepare when preparing for the 1120S and answering their questions. When they talk about the capital loss and when they tell us that they have no purchases. So this is very important to pay attention to those details that they give us. There's here some additional information that they're giving us. They say here, Falcon Inc's accumulated adjustment account balance at January 1, year 4 was 100,000. Total distributions to shareholders during year 4 is $30,000, which was distributed equally. Jennifer's shareholder tax basis at January 1 is 60,000, and Marvin's shareholder tax basis at January 1 is $75,000. So all this information, we will use it now to solve the question. So let's see, but just the first question, what they're asking, the first item they're asking us to do here quickly. The first item they're asking about here is Falcon's year 4 ordinary business income to be reported on Form 1120S. So they want us to figure out the amount of Falcon's year 4 ordinary business income or loss to be reported on Form 1120. Okay, so basically, in order to get the ordinary income, business income or loss in Form 1120, we will need the income statement and the information they gave us. We're gonna basically take the sales and deduct from them the cost of goods sold, the wages, the repairs and maintenance, and the macros depreciation, payroll taxes, and business insurance. So those are the only items that should go into the ordinary business income. So sales in the amount of $1,200,000 minus cost of goods sold in $500,000, and wages in the amount of $203,000, and repairs and maintenance in the amount of $10,000 minus the macros depreciation of $20,000 minus the payroll taxes of $18,000 minus the business insurance of $9,000, which will give us the $440,000. Okay, and what you do is you enter the answer. You just click here to enter the answer, 440,000, and it will be automatically formatted. So the comma will be put and that will be formatted automatically. And if you put any letter or anything by mistake, it's gonna be also formatted as a comma. Okay, but make sure to put the correct answer or the correct numbers. Make sure that you are putting the correct numbers. You are not missing anything, because what you put will be your answer. And if you put anything wrongly, it will not count. With respect to the second question they're asking us here, they're saying here, they want the sum of Falcon's year 4 separately stated items of taxable income and deductible expenses that should go in Form 1120 in Schedule K, specifically in Schedule K, which talks about the shareholders' pro rata shares items. So in order here to compute the items reported in Schedule K, what goes into Schedule K are the charitable contributions, so we should deduct the charitable contributions. So the taxable income is the bank interest income. So the bank interest income is considered a taxable income that should go into Schedule K of Form 1120S, and deduct from it the charitable contributions, which are deductible expenses in the Schedule K, and deduct the capital loss on the sale of land. So bank interest income in the amount of $1,000 is a taxable income minus charitable contributions of $5,000 minus the capital loss on sale of land, $20,000, and this will give us a total loss of $24,000. Make sure when you put the $24,000 here, when we are inserting the numbers, as they told us in the question, they want any loss should be put as negative numbers. So we must here put a minus sign and then just put enter or accept. You'll get here the answer. So now the next thing they're asking us, they want us to put is Falcon's year 4 non-deductible expenses. So we need to figure out Falcon's year 4 non-deductible expenses. Basically, the only items in the whole income statement and the all data that we have that are non-deductible expenses are the penalties and fines. So penalties and fines in the amount of $2,000 here are the non-deductible expenses that we have. So here we put 2,000, and as I told you, the cell automatically formats the number, but make sure you put the number correctly. So here the next item, number 5, that they are asking us to do is, what they want here is Falcon's December 31 year 4 accumulated adjustment account balance. So here they want the accumulated adjustment account balance. And what that usually the accumulated adjustment account balance equals the beginning accumulated adjustment account balance, and then we add to it the ordinary business income, and then we plus or minus the separately stated taxable income and deductible expenses, and minus any non-deductible expenses, minus the shareholder distributions. So basically we're going to take the beginning accumulated adjustment account, account balance, which already given in the question is $100,000, and we're going to add to it the ordinary business income of $440,000, which we computed here in item number 2 here, the first number here, and then we're going to deduct from it the $24,000, the separately stated taxable income and deductible expense items, which are minus $24,000, and then we're going to deduct the non-deductible expenses of $2,000 here, and minus the shareholders distribution, which is given to us here, it is $30,000. This will give us $484,000 as accumulated adjustment account balance. Now the next question they're asking us here is that Jennifer's shareholder tax basis at December 31 year 4. They want the tax basis of one of the partners, which is Jennifer, as of December 31. So basically the tax basis equals the beginning basis. We take the ordinary income minus the separately stated taxable income and deductible expense items, minus the non-deductible expenses, and time those by 50%, because her basis is her ownership basis is 50%, okay? And then we subtract then her shareholder distribution times her basis percentage. So we're gonna start. So the beginning basis is $60,000 as given by the question. Then we take the ordinary income, the ordinary business income, minus separately stated taxable income and deductible items, minus the non-deductible expenses. These will give us the amount of $484,000. It's the number that we have here actually. Okay, times 50%, and then minus the distribution. Her distribution of $30,000 times 50%, which is $15,000, which will give us $252,000. I think it's not that hard. You should just concentrate, and more importantly, focus on what you learned. So what you learned, just focus on what you learned. They're not asking you to invent the wheel, but focus on what you learned, apply the concepts you learned, and I think you'll be fine. As I said, it's very important to read exactly what they want, read the instructions and directions exactly, use the split screens, it's very helpful here. The calculator also here is very helpful. Also, I advise you also to use the manual if you're someone who likes the manual calculators, the ones that that you use by hand. You can ask for one from the Parametric Center before you go into the exam, and you can ask also for a paper and pencil, which you can write your notes or do some computations or whatever you can. So and most importantly, keep your eye on the clock. So usually like a simulation like this one, I think 20 minutes are enough to solve like this simulation. It's not that complicated. So these are my best tips to help you master these questions and beat them during the CPA exam. Comment below and tell me if you are going to implement these tips during preparing for the CPA exam and during the exam as well. And make sure to grab my CPA exam cheat sheet. Application cheat sheet is in the description below. So make sure to grab your free CPA exam cheat sheet from the description below. Remember, go after what you want, pass the CPA exam, because you can become CPAs and save the world.